The SMU Mustangs are coming off an American Athletic Championship last season, and 2024 seems to have relatively high expectations for the Pony program because now they are entering the ACC and they are built ready to compete from square one. So, can the SMU Mustangs be a sneaky contender in the ACC and potentially in the college football playoff race? You're about to find out what I think here in this video. What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. I want to welcome you to my channel and welcome you to prediction season. It's where I'm predicting all 134 FBS level college football teams. I believe this is video 40. Guys, I'm doing your favorite team, so hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. And I want to thank you so much for watching this video because it helps support my channel in more ways than you can even imagine. And if you would like to continue to support what I do here on YouTube, please like, comment, share, do anything else you can to help interact with the channel, because anything you do to interact with the channel helps to support it. We're going to talk about the SMU Mustangs here in just a little bit, but before we do, we're going to tell you how we're going to talk about them. So, diving on into the team's offense, we'll dive on into the defense, and then at the end of the video, we will go through the SMU football schedule and give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. A couple more things, though, before we do start is right over here are going to be the stats the team either offensively or defensively put up last season. And of course, dear viewer, for your viewing pleasure, right below the team's logo, I have put the team's coaching staff. So we'll waste no more time diving on into talking about this Pony offense. And you have to talk about the most important position on the field. That's the quarterback position. And Alex Padilla does leave. He was a former Iowa transfer, only threw 7 passes last year. He's run out of college eligibility, but no more. You get your star quarterback back. That is Preston Stone. 3,197 yards, 28 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions, with just short of 60% completion last season at 59.9%, was 206 for 344 throwing passes. That was his first full year as a starter, and big things have been expected from Preston Stone, one of the highest, if not the highest rated recruit that this Mustang program has ever brought in. He delivered last year, and I have a feeling he's going to deliver even more than he did last year in 2024. You also do have Kevin Jennings and Keldrick Luster still coming back to this quarterback room. Jennings did throw 105 passes last year, so look, if Preston Stone has a full season under his belt with this pass-heavy offense, it's definitely looking like Preston Stone can throw 400 passes this season. That definitely would not be something that would shock me. And I think Preston Stone is a very good player. He's got a lot of phenomenal weapons. There are even some good weapons coming in through the portal. We'll talk about them when they get there. But Preston Stone is going to drive this offense for the Mustangs yet again in 2024. And I think he is an exceptional player. Has shown some ability with the legs as well. I mean, 198 yards, 4 touchdowns last season. Again, those numbers are not going to wow you, but if need be, the ability is there. More of a pocket passer, but he can get outside of the pocket and run if he absolutely has to. Let's talk about what he has around him in this Pony offense. Running back room, you do lose a couple guys due to graduation, but they were depth pieces, thankfully. Tyler Levine and Velton Gardner, which means your top 3 leading rushers are all back on this team. Jalen Knighton had 745 yards, 7 touchdowns on 136 carries last season. L.J. Johnson Jr., 576 yards, 4 touchdowns on 108 carries. And Kamar Wheaton, 410 yards, 5 touchdowns on 83 carries. Those 3 guys make for a really, really good running back room that, again, averaged 176 rushing yards per game last year. That number probably going to stay around the same as all 3 of those guys return in 2024. You go ahead and you take a look at your wide receiver and tight end room. Well, you do lose Carter Campbell. He has gone through the transfer portal. Only 2 catches for him last year. And Nolan Matthews Harris, who again, a depth piece at tight end, is gone. So most of your primary receiving core is back. In fact, all of your primary receiving core is back on this team. Let's take a look at the wide receivers first. Jake Bailey, yep, your leading receiver from last year is back. 528 yards, 42 catches. Did not break the plane of the end zone. That is surely to change in 2024. Jordan Hudson, Romello Brinson, Moochie Dixon, Keyshawn Smith, Roderick Daniels. I could go on, and I will, because they brought a couple pieces in from the transfer portal to help boost up this wide receiver room. And they're 2 guys that I think are going to play really, really big roles, especially that of Ashton Kozar. He comes over from Eugene, over from the Oregon Ducks, while Brashard Smith is coming over the program as well from the U, another ACC school in the Miami Hurricanes. Both of those guys, probably Kozar more so than Smith, will play a huge role on this team. But again, they add to the already impressive depth that SMU has in this position. And in your tight end room, second leading receiver RJ Maryland is back, 518 yards, 34 catches, and had 7 touchdowns last year. That was tied for the team lead with that of Jordan Hudson, who again is coming back. You also do get Adam Moore back in the tight end room, has had 6 catches last season, and Matthew Hibner is a transfer coming into this program. He's a Michigan transfer. He just won a national title last year. Now, didn't see much playing time. Again, got lost behind Colston Loveland, a lot of those players, but again, should be probably that primary second tight end behind RJ Maryland. Now, your offensive line is the position that you maybe have the most questions about, as Hiron White is gone due to graduation. He has run out of eligibility, and Branson Hickman, Marcus Bryant, and Jacob Waller have all entered the transfer portal. So you did get a lot of pieces through the portal that we'll talk about, but some pieces returning: Justin Osborne, Ja'Kai Clark, Ben Sparks, and Logan Parr all come back to the offensive line room, while Savion Byrd, Nate Anderson, Andrew Chambly, and Kayshawn Sapp all come in through the transfer portal. Byrd by way of Oklahoma, Chambly by way of Arkansas, Nate Anderson again by way of Oklahoma, and Kayshawn Sapp coming over by way of East Carolina. You also do have Paris Patterson, who's another Arkansas transfer coming in, but you lost a lot of offensive line talent through the transfer portal, and they're going to have to supplement with guys through the portal as well. You're going to see a combination of returners and guys coming in from the portal starting on that offensive line. So when you talk about the Mustang offense in 2024, it's impossible, again, to not talk about Preston Stone. He is what drives this offense, and I don't really like to make predictions on guys' yardages and things like that, although I say a lot of numbers in my video. I kind of have a feeling that Preston Stone is going to be in for at least a 3,500-yard season. That's just the feeling that I have. I think Preston Stone's a really, really good player. He has a very, very talented wide receiver room, very talented tight end room. He's got his 3 returning rushers behind him. And I think this Mustang offense is ready to explode and give the ACC a taste of the Pony Express. Let's look at what the Mustangs have defensively. It was a really good defense last season, especially in that secondary. Didn't even allow 200 passing yards per game. It does lose a lot of talent off of this defensive end, especially a ton of guys on the defensive line that will now be playing on Sundays. Jordan Miller is one of them. The defensive tackle, 26 tackles, half a sack for him last season. Nelson Paul had 4.5 sacks last year. DeVere Levelston is going to be gone off of this team as well. 19 tackles and a sack and a half for him. And Elijah Chapman will also be leaving the defensive line as well. He was the leading tackler among defensive tackles last season, second leading tackler among defensive linemen for the Mustangs, 33 tackles, and second on the team with 5.5 sacks. Dylan Frazier is also going to be gone. He was a depth piece that has since left through the transfer portal. So, okay, those are a ton of notable losses to a defensive front that, yes, was pretty good last year, but definitely had its moments where it got gashed. Well, your leading tackler among defensive linemen is coming back. Last season, that was Elijah Roberts, 37 tackles, and led the team by 4 sacks with 9.5 of those. So Elijah Roberts coming back is huge to this Mustangs defense. Corey Roberson, Isaiah Smith, and Cameron Robertson will also all come back. And again, what do you know? You lose a lot of talent to the NFL. You dive on into the transfer portal and get a lot of talent back. Jonathan Jefferson, Anthony Booker, and Mike Lockhart are all coming in, among a plethora of other guys that I can mention here: Omari Abor, Billy Walton, Jared Harrison Hunt, Blake Burris. There's a ton of transfers coming into the defensive line. Booker, Lockhart, and Jefferson are supposed to play kind of the 3 biggest roles, at least I would imagine, on this defense. Mike Lockhart coming over from West Virginia, Anthony Booker coming over from Arkansas, and Jonathan Jefferson, oh yeah, he is coming over by way of Georgia. They're known for getting some pretty good defensive players. Linebacker room, Jaquandis Burns has graduated, so he will no longer be playing for the Mustangs. He was really a fairly solid player. I'm trying to find his stat line. 14 tackles, 2 sacks, and a pass defended for him last season. You do return the bulk of your core in this linebacker room, though, as Kobe Wilson and Ahmad Walker, your 2 leading tacklers from last year, are back. 80 tackles for Wilson, 65 of them for Walker. Each of them had a sack, while Walker, you tack on 5 passes defended. Wilson was able to pick a pass off last year as well. Alexander Kilgore will also be back, was also a top 10 tackler, 36 tackles, 4 sacks, and an interception for him last season, while you also do get Justin Medlock coming in through the transfer portal, and Justin Medlock is coming over by way of the Utah Utes, again, known for having some pretty good defensive players, should play a big role in this defense in 2024. Defensive back room, let's talk about it. Charles Woods, he is going to be gone to the NFL. Very, very talented player for this secondary. Had 27 tackles and 11 passes defended last season. So you do lose a very talented player who you will now see playing on Sundays. Kavaris Hall is also going to be gone. He entered the transfer portal. And will be playing for a different program. Only 2 tackles, but did have 2 pass defended in his limited playing time. And then Chris Meganson is gone through graduation. He has run out of eligibility, 21 tackles, 6 passes defended for him last season. You take a look at your safety room, Chris Adamore, however you pronounce that last name again. I apologize. It's Adamora, so let me fix that. There you go. That's a little better. Chris Adamora has since graduated. Again, he has run out of eligibility. 28 tackles for him and an interception last season, while Brian Massey has entered the transfer portal. Massey last year, 30 tackles for him. So you do lose some solid talent out of the secondary, but let's take a look at what's coming back, shall we? Jahari Rogers, A.J. Davis, and Jalen Davis Robinson are going to be coming back in this cornerback room. As well as getting Deuce Harmon coming over from the transfer portal. Now, Deuce Harmon is by way of Texas A&M. He could have been a pretty solid player over there, decided to take his talents to Dallas. And you take a look at what comes back in the safety room. Isaiah Wokobia, I probably mispronounced that last name, and I apologize. Jonathan McGill, Ahmad Moses, Cale Sanders, and Brandon Crossley all come back, while Jaden Milliner-Jones comes over from Colorado to be that safety. And kickers are people too, so let's show them some love. You do lose your punter from last season. I apologize, I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name. While Colin Rogers is back to do the kicking duties, you dove into the portal to get a punter in Isaac Pearson, who should be doing the primary punting duties for the Ponies in 2024. So when you talk about this defense, again, the bulk of that talent is gone off the defensive line, and you lost some pretty solid guys out of that defensive secondary as well. Charles Woods, Meganson, Adamora, and even Brian Massey. All those guys provided pretty substantial things for this SMU defense last year, and obviously those guys on the defensive line were huge. You get your leading sackman back, as well as a plethora of transfers who I think we're going to see a lot of those guys play. You do have a lot of guys coming back in that secondary, as well as supplementing some through the portal. I don't know. I have a feeling this is the Mustang defense. It's going to be pretty darn competitive, and I think they're going to have some good success in the ACC. And speaking of which, let's now take a look at the Mustangs' schedule. Their first schedule as an ACC team. Any game at home will be underlined, while any game on the road is in italics or that slanted text. Any game in green is a game I think the Mustangs will win easily. Any game in yellow is going to be a close 50-50 type game, but I still think the Mustangs are able to win, and red is a loss. They are one of the few teams to play in week 0 this college football season. They get to go on the road and take on the Nevada Wolfpack. So this game is going to be played in Reno. Nevada's a team that's still trying to rebuild, and I think the Ponies are ready to compete right away into the ACC in 2024. I think they're a very talented team. Preston Stone and this offense are going to be electric, and with Nevada still trying to rebuild and get some pieces figured out, I think the Mustangs should have no trouble with the Wolfpack on the road in week 0. And then they get to come back home and play Houston Baptist, Houston Christian. I'm not sure which it is. I have heard both names, but that is an FCS level program. SMU is going to be one of the better teams in FBS this year. I think the Ponies should easily be able to take care of them. That is their first home game. Their second home game is going to be on a Friday night, presumably, against the BYU Cougars. Now, this could end up being a very interesting game. BYU did lose Keaton Slovis. He has gone off to the NFL. Okay, they did lose some pretty solid defensive pieces due to graduation, the portal. I think even 1 or 2 guys to the NFL there as well. BYU is going to be a pretty solid team this year, and I think they keep this one competitive, but I think the explosive offense of the Mustangs is going to be a little bit too much while that defensive line steps up and makes some plays. Jake Retzlaff projected to be that quarterback for BYU this year, and I don't think he has enough in the tank to keep up with SMU. So that is a close win for the SMU Mustangs before they get their bye week, and then they get to dive on into the battle for the Iron Skillet against the TCU Horned Frogs. Now, TCU is going to be a very interesting team to watch this year as well. That defense needs to take a step up in 2024. However, I do think TCU is one of those teams that, in the chaos of the Big 12 Conference, and we saw it play out in 2022, yet again in 2024, I think they're going to be one of those teams that can sort of play into the chaos, win a couple games that they're not supposed to. Again, quote unquote, that they're not supposed to. And again, this is a rivalry game. The TCU defense definitely does not have enough talent to stack up with this SMU offense, and that is leading me to a win, as well as the extra week of preparation that SMU is going to get. I think that TCU is going to go down. I think SMU starts off the season 4-0. They beat two Big 12 teams, including their rival in TCU, and things are looking good for them entering ACC play. Well, welcome to the ACC, SMU. You get to start out by playing Florida State and Louisville. Yikes. I do think you end up dropping both of those games, and I'll tell you why. Florida State, yes, lost a ton of talent. You lost Jordan Travis. You lost your starting running back, Keon Coleman. A ton of defensive pieces are gone as well. But I think people are overlooking the talent that is coming back on this Florida State roster. They get DJU over from the transfer portal. They supplement in a couple other positions through the portal as well. And Florida State is still going to be right there at the top of the ACC. Even though this is the home game for SMU, and the Ponies are going to keep this one very, very close, I do think that the Mustangs are going to end up losing to the Florida State Seminoles to be given their first loss of the season, and then going on the road to play a Louisville team that, again, is projected to be pretty darn good here in 2024. I think that's going to end up being a loss for them as well. Louisville's got a ton of returning talent defensively. They've got some really good pieces returning on offense as well. Now, you did lose Jawar Jordan. Jack Plummer is gone. Jamari Thrash is gone. But they supplemented really well. That's one of the biggest winners through the portal in the 2024 cycle. Louisville's going to be right near the top of the ACC yet again this year, and I do have the Cardinals beating the Mustangs. So the Mustangs, after that short 2-game skid, get a second to catch their breath. Because they play in week 0, every team gets 2 bye weeks normally. SMU gets 3. So their second one comes right here before a road game against Stanford. A very, very long road trip with the extra week of preparation on top of Troy Taylor's squad just needing me to show that they can be competitive this year. I do think SMU, my apologies, is going to be able to get back to their winning ways with a win against the Stanford Cardinal. However, then you got to turn right back around and go to the other side of the country in Durham to play the Duke Blue Devils. And I think people are overlooking Duke a little bit this year. Yes, Riley Leonard is gone. Jordan Waters is gone, right? You're getting Malik Murphy, a Texas quarterback transfer that, again, most other places in the country he would start. He's going to start here for Duke. Yes, Mike Elko is gone, but I think Duke's got a lot of very solid pieces here. They've got some solid defensive talent, and I think Duke is going to be one of the more pleasant surprises in the ACC. No, not by going 9-3 or 10-2 or anything crazy like that, but I think they are going to win a little bit more games than people might think after losing as much as they lost, and this is one of them right here. I think Duke is going to be able to have enough, especially at home, to slow down SMU's offense as much as they need to be able to pull out that win. And I think Malik Murphy's still a very talented quarterback that will help Duke defeat SMU. But I see it all being sunshines and rainbows the rest of the way for the SMU Mustangs. I think they go back to home and they beat Pitt. Now, Pitt's going to be another very competitive, very feisty team in 2024. But again, this explosive SMU offense, I think will be too much for this Pitt defense to handle. That has lost a ton of talent over the past couple of seasons. Their third and final bye week comes after that game, which again, I think is going to be a very tough game for SMU to win, but they get to come back home and they get to play Boston College. Now, I still think you should watch out for Boston College. They got some pretty solid players. Bill O'Brien is coming in to be that head coach. He knows the Boston area pretty darn well, but I do think that SMU, again, offensively, too talented. Defensively, I don't think Boston College has enough pieces offensively to be able to get past SMU's defense, especially in that defensive front, especially with how good it can be in 2024. You go on the road, and I think you beat the Virginia Cavaliers here. Now, Virginia is not going to be as bad as they were last year. There really are some pretty solid pieces on that roster, and they're going to win a couple games in the ACC play this year. This one is not one of them. They don't have the defensive pieces to stop the Pony Express, and I think SMU wins that one. And then your final game of the year against Cal. I think this is a very interesting game because Cal is one of the teams in the ACC, much like Duke, that I think is going to sneak up on some people this year. They got a lot of sneaky good players, but again, that being said, what have I said this whole video? Preston Stone, this SMU offense is going to be electric this season. I think the defense in the secondary and the defensive front make too many plays, and SMU wins the season finale to go 9-3 in 2024. Yes, Ponies, I got you guys just shy of a 10-win season. Is a 10-win season possible? Absolutely, with the schedule. You go on the road and you beat Duke. You go on the road and you beat Louisville. You upset Florida State at home. You're easily looking at a 10-win season here. Very talented SMU offense. The defense has a lot of good pieces. This team is going to fit in really well with the ACC conference. Let me know what you guys think on the Mustangs in the comment section below. And later on, we're going to go ahead and predict the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. That's the next video. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.